I would like to start this video by saying that it is mainly just for fun and to present an idea I had about reworking Nasus. While this type of video has been done before, there isn't one for Nasus. I decided to do a rework video on Nasus because as a champion, Nasus is just bad. He is very rarely picked in professional play and was not picked once in LCK 2019. This is because Nasus has too many bad matchups such as Aatrox, Gangplank and Urgot. He offers no utility, is too easily kited, and coordinated junglers such as Elise and Lee Sin can shut down Nasus early, and there are so much better top winners such as Vladimir that can do what Nasus is supposed to do and more without his inherent weaknesses. As we will look at it in the rework, I have decided to add unique utility and early laning potential to Nasus' kit, making him easier to balance at all ranks. Although I'm not saying the numbers I have decided on will be 100% balanced, but the ideas of the abilities themselves can make Nasus potentially viable in low elo, high elo and pro play. The reason I have decided to replace the old W Wither with a Cassiopeia Q skill shot that prevents summoner spells is for situations such as this, when Nasus receives a gank but cannot lock the target down, and on the flip side, Wither is a no skill point and click ability that is extremely frustrating to play against, and by making it a skill shot, the enemy top at least has a chance to outplay the ability, rather than be obnoxiously slowed until they are inevitably killed. This footage shows how pretty Nasus' early laning phase against champions such as Aatrox is. He gets out-traded and eventually ganked as he has no way of dealing with a lot of top winners. Nasus' new E costs less mana if it hits a champion and sets up Nasus for trades, meaning he could potentially retaliate in this scenario. If the reworked Nasus was in this situation, he could land his W, which immobilizes champions on either the Elise or the Aatrox, and escape. He could also trade back and force Aatrox to respect him with the zone potential his new E would grant. The reason this problem cannot simply be fixed by buffing Nasus is because he currently has high win rates in silver and gold, which is the majority of League's player base. This is because Nasus gets too many stats and scales regardless of his performance. This rework's designed to give Nasus what he needs to survive early against good players, scale depending on how well he plays, and avoid being kited without being able to run down and one-shot ADCs as early as he can currently do. And to be seen in professional play as a strategic counter to tanks such as Poppy and Maokai to prevent a wet noodle meta that we saw in too many a 70-minute game in the Season 6 tank meta. An example of how Nasus was picked as a counter to a tank such as Maokai and executed perfectly was in a Longzhi vs Fnatic game in Season 7. It is a shame that Nasus wasn't picked in the same way during Season 6 to make the top lane tank meta a bit more interesting.
Of Fnatic's base at 20 minutes. Khan can cut through these towers in an instant. Fnatic are out of options. They've got one last chance, one opportunity to try to seize a fight, but there is nothing in their wheelhouse. There is nothing in the toolkit. All they see is Nasus in front of them. This game is the story of Khan farming it up and bringing it home.
And we get to see a dancing Rift Herald in professional play. It only dances if it takes down the Nexus.
The two things you need to know about Nasus' new passive is the stacks are now collected here instead of his Q, as the infinite stacks are what defines Nasus as a champion. I have never had a chance to test this new passive as I am not a Riot employee, so the numbers might seem a bit too low, but I decided to just keep the amount of stacks gained toward the lower end, that it seemed safer to make him perform well or wait a bit longer before being able to one-shot squish your target. Nasus' Q Siphoning Strike. I've decided to move the sustain directly to Siphoning Strike as this was the only way Nasus was really getting use from it anyway. I've changed the dynamic of the healing so that it siphons off a percentage of an enemy champion's max health so that Nasus can deal with the bruisers and tanks he will be laning against without being able to heal completely back to full HP for minions. I've decided to make this siphoning effect have a cooldown similar to Jarvan's passive, because of situations seen in these clips of Nasus dueling Trundle and Camille. Nasus can deal a massive amount of damage while healing based off his own stacks. By applying this cooldown effect, Nasus is no longer allowed to brainlessly spam this ability on one target and will heal based off his enemy's HP, making the duel more fair for both sides. The Q is still his old bread and butter ability. Stacks still apply off every hit, but there will be a more controlled amount of them. Nasus' new W, Shuriman Dogma. The problem with Wither currently is that if you're a champion such as Jhin, Maokai, or pushed up on top lane, this point and click ability can adjust a disgustingly exhausting slow that isn't fun to play against for anyone. By making it a skill shot, counterplay is offered, meaning that the champion itself depends on the person playing it, which is what I think a good champion should be. So if the slow itself is so good, why have I decided to change this ability? And the reason for this is because a slow, regardless of how heavy or light it is, gets outclassed by so many other forms of CC that other champions can offer. Why would you pick Nasus when Maokai, Ryze, Jarvan, Poppy and Trundle exist? To fix this problem, I have decided to replace the boring and frustrating slow with a unique property which is preventing the use of item and summoner spells, making Nasus good against compositions such as the Ardent Sensor Kog'Maw Kalista meta, which dominated Season 7 Worlds. By pinning down a champion such as Kalista, Tristana or Ezreal that you have outplayed with a skill shot similar to a Cassiopeia you could have dodged, you can provide a lot of usefulness to your team without having to have an anti-kite ability in your kit. The reason I have made the range of this ability scale when leveled up is so that it can be used to check Baron Pit, Bushes and Dragon Pit as the game progresses. I envision this ability as looking very similar to a Xerath W. Nasus' new E. I have decided that Nasus should have unique laning properties to help him get through the early game. He needs a strong ability to zone the enemy since his only means of trading is with his Q, which is a melee ability. In order to do this, I decided to allow this ability to kill ally minions to deny CS while also setting up trades. My thought process behind this is that if the enemy wants to farm or harass, Nasus can E, but if the enemy decides to leave the zone, they will miss CS. Since the mana cost isn't refunded, the ability isn't spammable, meaning Nasus will have to be careful when making a choice. Since the ability is needed to set up trade, the mana is refunded if a champion is hit. Nasus' new R. The problem with the current ultimate ability and why I decided to change it is because it acts as a band-aid to a lot of the problems that Nasus currently has, and since it gives too much stats and the rework is already designed to fix these problems, I decided to tone down his ultimate but allow it to tie in with his new abilities. His Q's cooldown effect on champions is reduced by half and his E now grants tank stats if he is in the zone from his E. His W also resets on takedowns. Thanks for watching the video, and although this video is mainly just for fun, I'm happy to receive any feedback and ideas, how it could be improved, what was good and what wasn't.